The room was heavy with tension, the kind of tension that seemed to make the very air stifle and throb. In the center of a stark, glass-paneled conference hall, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stood, a figure of sharp authority and centuries-old arrogance, condensed into a single human presence. His eyes, cold and calculating, scanned the assembled delegates before him. They were here to discuss matters of trade, resources, and geopolitical influence, but his message was clear even before he spoke. The world was ordered in a way that benefited the powerful, and those who resisted would face consequences. You see, Netanyahu began, his voice cutting like a knife. The balance of power is not negotiable. Africa, as magnificent as it is, must recognize the role of those who have built empires, who have controlled the flow of wealth and knowledge. Those who fail to acknowledge this risk chaos, disorder, and consequences. There was a murmur among the audience, a mixture of nervousness and reluctant agreement from those who had long internalized the old world's hierarchies. But at the back of the room, a figure stood apart. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young, defiant president of Burkina Faso, listened quietly, eyes fixed, expression unreadable. He did not flinch, did not shift, did not allow the weight of centuries of colonial arrogance to bear down on him. Netanyahu, sensing a challenge in the air, stepped closer to the podium, his tone hardening. We offer guidance, we offer stability, we offer the path to prosperity. Resistance is futile. The room seemed to grow colder. Some delegates fidgeted. Some whispered. Yet Traoré's presence remained unshaken. Finally, after a pregnant silence, he rose from his seat. His movement was deliberate, calm, but the energy he carried was palpable, magnetic, commanding. I have heard your words, Prime Minister, Traoré said, his voice steady but unwavering. You speak of guidance. You speak of control. You speak of empire. But understand this, chains are not guidance. Subjugation is not stability. And your idea of prosperity, built on the backs of those who were told to bow, to obey, to surrender their dignity, is a hollow one. A stunned hush fell over the room. Netanyahu's face hardened further, as if he could not comprehend that someone, anywhere, could speak to him this way without fear. The delegates leaned forward, sensing the moment of history unfolding, the collision of two eras, two visions, two very different philosophies of power. You speak of dignity, Netanyahu interjected sharply, but history has shown that civilizations rise and fall. Strength is what matters. Power is what shapes the world. Without it, nations falter. Traoré's eyes did not waver. And yet, he replied, his tone calm but cutting, it is those who cling to power at the expense of humanity who falter first. You speak of history as if it justifies oppression. But Africa's history is not yours to rewrite. The people are not yours to command. The wealth of our lands does not belong to empires. It belongs to our people. He paused, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. Delegates shifted in their seats, whispers rising, some inspired, some anxious. Netanyahu's jaw tightened. He had faced many opponents, many critics, but rarely someone who dared to confront him with such fearlessness, such eloquence, such moral conviction. You think words are enough, Netanyahu said, his voice rising. You think rhetoric can change reality. But power is measured in control, in the ability to enforce your will. Traoré's smile was faint, almost imperceptible, but it carried the confidence of someone who had witnessed the strength of unity, courage, and truth. And yet, the greatest power, he said softly, is not in enforcing fear. It is in inspiring respect, not in domination, but in liberation. You may have armies, you may have wealth, but you will never have the heart of a people determined to be free. The room seemed to vibrate with his words, as if the walls themselves recognized the shift. Delegates from across the globe exchanged glances. Social media feeds would later explode with this moment. But here, in this glass-paneled room, it was raw, unfiltered, electric. Netanyahu leaned forward, eyes narrowing. And what would you have me do, President Traoré? Recognize the illusion of independence? Bow to the moral certainty of a generation that has yet to understand the cost of governance? Traoré did not flinch. I would have you recognize the truth. That governance is a responsibility, not a weapon. That independence is not a gift. It is a demand for accountability, for courage, for justice. The people of Africa will determine their destiny, not your policies, not your influence, not your fear. For a moment, silence reigned. Then Traoré stepped closer, his voice resonating with the conviction of a continent. Look around you, Prime Minister. See the young faces, the leaders of tomorrow. They do not bow to empires. They rise against oppression. They innovate, they challenge, they claim their rightful place in history. Your threats are empty. Your control is temporary. And your arrogance will be your undoing. Netanyahu's composure cracked slightly. He glanced at his aides, seeking reassurance, seeking an escape. But the moment had passed beyond personal confrontation. It had become symbolic. The world outside the hall, across news channels and social media, would feel this clash of eras, a narrative of defiance that could not be ignored. Traoré continued, his words now carrying a cadence that was almost ceremonial, almost prophetic. Africa is not a resource to be exploited. It is not a playground for political maneuvering. It is a continent of people, history, and potential that no empire can claim. You may have ruled through fear. You may have dictated through wealth. But we rule through vision, unity, and the courage to speak truth. Netanyahu. Netanyahu opened his mouth, but no words came. The weight of history, the inevitability of change, pressed upon him. Delegates shifted uncomfortably, realizing they were witnessing not just a conversation but a turning point. Traoré's final words echoed like a drumbeat of liberation. Let this be a warning to those who believe the world can still be owned through domination. Africa will rise, not because it is given permission, but because it will claim it. Our time is now, and our voices are unstoppable. With that, he turned, returning to his seat with a grace that belied the firestorm he had ignited. The room remained frozen, the echoes of his declaration lingering in the minds of all present. History had been made, not in treaties or signed documents, but in the audacity of truth, the defiance of courage, and the unyielding power of words. Outside the hall, the world would awaken to a new narrative. Social media exploded. News channels debated. Historians analyzed. But for those who had been present, it was not analysis or commentary that mattered. It was witnessing a moment when the old world order collided with the new, and the new emerged unshaken, unapologetic, and undeniably alive. And in that moment, it became clear: empires may command armies. They may hold wealth, they may control narratives, but they cannot command hearts, cannot dictate courage, and cannot silence a people determined to write their own destiny. Captain Ibrahim Traoré had spoken, and the world had listened.